Hello guys, so welcome to the REINVESTORS March 17th online meetup. Our first time, we're excited about it. I think there's gonna be a lot more to come. So tonight's agenda is gonna be pretty simple. Just welcoming everyone in. Who are the REINVESTORS? Same presentation we do at all of our meetups. If you haven't been to one, it'll be new for you. If you've been to one, you've seen it before, you know the spiel, it's gonna be great. We have Kyle coming in to present at around 6:20 for a little bit. Then Rachelle's speaking after that, and then closing thoughts. We ask you to stay the whole time. It's gonna be an absolutely amazing webinar. I just made a post that said, there's two people in the world right now. There's people out there saying, quarantine sucks. I don't know what's going on. I'm so bored. I don't know what's going on. And there's people that say, hey, quarantine's amazing. I'm taking this opportunity to educate myself and learn about as many new topics as I can. So tonight's one of those times. Let's learn about something new. Let's learn about some mortgages, and let's learn about some executive rentals. We've got some amazing speakers, so it's going to be great. And yeah, Steve.
Yeah, so I was kind of hoping for more people on video, but if you're a first-time attendee to one of our meetups, throw it down in the chat bot. We'd love to connect with you on another time and just see how we can continually just push the envelope. And one of the things you'll see is just one of our mission statements for our company, and we just love inspiring people and educating people. So
that's just for me to speaker.
That's the one, Glenn. And so if you're new to our community, if this is your first time seeing one of our meetups, always this is our first time online, but just jot it down in the chat, and we'd love to connect with you on another level. And if this is just routine for you guys, welcome back. Thank you for bearing with us as we pivot from the online piece of it from the in-person piece to the online piece.
So who are the REINVESTORS? Who are the guys that are hosting it? As you've seen speaking, that's Steve, and I am Randy. Together we create the REINVESTORS. We started about 3.5–4 years ago, and just decided that there was better options in the world than working on Monday to Friday 9 to 5s. We're both very fortunate to buy houses at a young age, and then learned really quickly that we could start making income off them. I rented my house out. I had a payment of about $1,700 a month. And somebody told me that I could rent it for about $2,300 a month. And I was 24 at the time. So I said, cool, I'm going to rent my house out and take that $500 net, the difference I was going to make. And then I went and rented a room for $500, but still got the benefits of paying down my mortgage and having the appreciation that comes with real estate. So that sparked something cool. Steve and I could not stop talking about the cool opportunities that were out there. We jumped in a program, Keyspire, which is something that we, I think a lot of you in here have done before. And we just started learning and understanding what real estate was. And then once we started getting into it, we realized there's a lot of opportunity. There's a lot of opportunity to teach people how to pull the equity out of their homes and start investing in real estate. We're just two young guys and wanted to gain some credibility in the industry. So we also started a monthly meetup, which is this. It's actually our 4-year anniversary today for our meetup, which is really cool. We started out in the back of a white spot with 7 people. And now we are up to, in the past 2 months, the beginning of this year, we were selling out every meetup with over 100 people coming in person to our meetup. And tonight, I think we're probably somewhere around 50 plus, because I'm sure there's couples and things like that. So there's 50 people on the call. So we'll say maybe, I don't know, 70 or so probably all together. So pretty cool for us to be able to grow something this exciting and be able to take our meetup online and share what we've been able to do. As for purchasing properties, we started out and we've done everything through joint venture partnerships. To date, we've put 0 of our own money into any property we've bought. We've bought over, I think, 15 properties now, everything from single family homes up to multifamily homes, into some development, and are currently working on a pretty cool project, which is 12 single family lots that we're going to be building on. So we've had some cool experience from all different areas and are just excited to share that with as many people as we can. As Steve said earlier, our mission statement, we're on a mission to financially educate 1 million people and inspire them to invest in real estate so that they can start living a more fulfilled life. Something we will live and die by is this mission statement.
And so for those of you who have been to our live in-person ones, we have a great team around us to support us and sponsor our meetup. You know, with a live venue, you have expenses like the venue itself, food, beverage, etc. And so we get that sponsored from a select group of professionals all across the country. And then we basically turn it into a net zero, and we charge people to come at the door. But it's not really quite a charge because you're getting crap ton of value, as well as we take 100% of ticket revenue and we donate that back to kids sports. So we're what you call a for-purpose business, and we want to grow this business, personally as well as a company, as big as we can, because we kind of live by the motto of go big to give big. We believe that the bigger that we can go, the more we can give. If you're making a $40,000 or $60,000 salary, it's hard to really have a massive impact to your favorite charity organization. Whereas if you're making 10 times that, it really gives you a lot more opportunity to give back to multiple different pieces. And we're all the way behind Kidsport Victoria. Randy and I are both sports fanatics, both born and raised kind of through sport, and it's really sculpted us into the great leaders that we are today in our communities. And we just want to give that back to the next generation. And this is a great organization to do so.
And we would not be able to do without our sponsors. We're so fortunate. I think Megan is on this call. If you see Megan Becker on here, she is Century West Financial. She is absolutely amazing. She goes and supports people with creating a financial plan for the real estate investing. She's an active investor herself. She's done some flips. She's got some buy and holds. And she actually has helped a lot of people inside our community dissect what their cash flow looks like. A lot of people are investing in multiple different projects, getting cash flow from all different areas, and don't know what to do with their income and expenses and everything that's going on. She's absolutely amazing for that. She also does some insurance work to make sure that you're covered by the right stuff, so that if something did happen to you, that you can keep your investment properties moving forward and doing the right thing. So she's absolutely amazing. I don't know if Sean Burkhart is on here from Burkhart Construction. If you're in Victoria, again, guys, this is coming from our live in-person meetups where it's local, but Sean Burkhart is a construction guy. Absolutely love him. He's amazing. Gives some of the fairest evaluations that you can in the construction industry and is very level-headed about it all. We have Sitka Law Group, again, here in Victoria. Absolutely amazing. Very specific to real estate investing. You'll see a common theme here. All of our sponsors are invested in real estate or understand real estate or work with investors. So if you're not from here, if you're from Ontario, these are the people that you're going to want to look for when you're picking your team. So people that are real estate investor specific. We use Real File CPA. They are based out of Ontario, and they are absolutely amazing with a little bit more advanced portfolios all the way down to just helping you get through your first few properties. They are incredible when it comes to making sure you play on the right side of the tracks. And then obviously speaking tonight, Kyle Green of the Green Mortgage team. They've been one of our staple sponsors from the beginning. Absolutely amazing. And we are so excited to have Kyle here presenting tonight. Without this group, we would not be able to grow and expand the real estate like the meetup like we have. So, and we wouldn't be able to grow our portfolio like we have. They've been here from day one and supported us. So I think the biggest thing in real estate investing is getting the right team. And that's something that Steve and I did from the first day. That's why we started the meetup group. And that's why we've been able to provide for our community so much, is because of our team.
So if you guys like tonight, which I'm sure you're going to, we have an awesome community on Facebook. It's about 300 and change people now. And the conversation on there is phenomenal. We have a lot of beginners and a lot of experts all in this space. So if you've got questions, or if you've got tight situations that you're in, or if you just want to know about a particular topic, hop on there and just jot your question there or share some value. It's there's posts in there every day. It's a really great community to get connected with and reach out to other people in different provinces or different industries. And it's really stimulating and we love it. So there's a lot of people here from further east than Vancouver Island. Then I would definitely encourage you guys to hop on so you can share your expertise and your wisdom and hopefully get inspired from some action that everybody out on the West Coast has taken as well.
Steve and I just wanted to cover a few quick topics for tonight. One of them is taking this time to get educated right now. Like I shared earlier, there's a lot of people out there that are complaining about what's going on with all the world right now being shut down and things like that. Take this opportunity to get educated. Read a book that you normally wouldn't have. Listen to more podcasts. Hop on webinars. Do some research. Study real estate. Connect with people like this. Find people that are on these calls or inside our community and say, hey, I'm looking to hop on a call to talk real estate or even just your business in general. Steve and I are part of a bunch of business masterminds, and we're using this opportunity to connect people we haven't really chatted with to brainstorm on how we can survive these kind of things or the opportunities that can be created right now. So take this time to get educated. Look at it as a positive way for you to spend some time getting educated right now.
Just a quick note on that too. A lot of people are starting to work from home now. And if you currently, or if you previously have worked in an office space where you couldn't listen to like podcasts or stuff, this is a great opportunity to throw on some background music and just, or not music, but like an educational podcast. And just have that in the background, like basically talking and instructing your subconscious. I've been lucky enough to basically work remotely for a long time. And so a lot of my initial education came from podcasts and audibles where I just sit it on the background and just hit replay. And it's a great way to get things in your brain and still be able to be functional at the same time.
You want to do that real estate one?
Yeah. So, there's still some advantages to where we're at now. One of the advantages is there's probably going to be a lot less buyers walking through open houses and stuff. So if you are actively looking for a real estate deal, I would reach out to your realtor and your broker. If you don't have a broker, talk to Kyle Green. But I'll reach out to your agent and say, hey, if there are some deals that have been sitting on the market for a little while, or if you know of some sellers who are a little bit motivated, get me through that house and get me the details on it, because right now or over the next couple of weeks, I think there's going to be some great opportunities come to the surface. The start of 2020 has been an aggressive one. Out here on the West Coast, we're seeing multiple offers again. I don't know if you guys are seeing a lot of that out east, but there was one in North Vancouver that had 42 offers on it, and that's an extreme. But here in Victoria, if it's an entry-level house, or just on the South Island, if it's an entry level, it's going to be competitive. And we've gotten a lot of our best deals just from being strong on our follow-up game. So if there's a house that you saw a week or two ago or a month or two ago that you really liked, follow up with that one and see if it's still on the market. And if it is, then it's going to give you a really strong position to walk in there and say, hey, market's slowing down. I might be one of your only buyers willing to take this risk and get ready to go buy some real estate. So you might not want to leave the house. Totally respect that. There are ways just like this that we can connect. So you can connect with your realtor just using FaceTime or Skype or Zoom. This is a great platform that everybody can use. It's actually free as well for like one-to-ones on under 40 minutes. And so you can do video walkthroughs of places. You can go, like even on private sales, you can get the owner to do just a video, which we've done for a lot of our rentals before, just to give people the landscape and what it looks like. And lastly on this is like, if you're not 100% ready, don't force it. Don't force it anyways, if, regardless of what the market conditions are like, but especially now, I can see investors having a great opportunity over the next couple of weeks. So if there are a few people who get a little bit nervous in this field, I wouldn't be forcing any deals, and I would just be waiting for maybe rates to come down a little bit. You can lock in some better deals, some better financing, and I think there's going to be some motivated sellers out there that we can work with to provide win-win solutions.
Yeah. Now with everything going on, it's not the ideal time to just be shopping because of the obviously social distancing we're trying to keep. But if you're ready to buy and you got cash in pocket, it's always time to take advantage. Last thing before we jump into Kyle here is just what to do as a landlord. A lot of people right now, there's a lot of concern about what our tenants going to be able to pay rent. So we just want to bring this topic up. It's something that we've discussed. We sent our tenants a very, very nice, loving email to all of our tenants that said, hey guys, just want to let you know we're here to support you as landlords. We understand that right now is a hard time for a lot of people. Here's the actions that we're taking as landlords. One, we'll do our best to relay any information on if anyone in our building has COVID-19, or if anyone is getting tested or anything going on, or you're coming back, please let us know so we can let other people know in the building. We personally don't have any main common areas, but we said, if you are touching surfaces around the property, please make sure that you wash your hands, blah, blah, blah. These are steps that you can take. You can reach out to us if you feel like maybe you're not going to be able to pay rent this month, or if some financial problem or financial hurt is going to come. Please reach out to us sooner than later. Don't wait till the first of the month. We want to work with you to get through this, as well as here's a link to all the stuff that you can do applying for EI. Here's all the updates on everything that's going on with the finances, right? If I get my mortgage covered by the Canadian government, then I'm going to pass that on to my tenants for sure. So I want to make sure they're updated as much as I can. But the key piece of all this is make sure you send them the EI information so that if they do get laid off or they can't work, they at least know where they can go. So we're trying to be proactive landlords and letting them know to reach out to us. Again, if I'm going to have 5 people not paying rent on the first of the month, I at least want to know and be prepared for it, and not just not get paid on the first. So being proactive around this is huge. And then coming up with creative ideas, different things you can do. If tenants are, maybe 1 or 2 months into their contract, can you defer one of their months and just prorate that amount over the remaining months? So say they're paying $1,200 a month. Can you just prorate that over the remaining, 10 months and just charge them an extra $120 a month each month going forward? So they might not have to pay it this month if they get into that situation, which is why it's important to send them a message saying how much you support them. You guys will hear us talk about this endless times. You're here to support your tenants. They're your best paying clients. Don't send the messages like I saw one that was like, hey, you should pay rent now so that you get your payments in because I don't want to have to kick you out if you can't make your payment. No, work with them saying, we love you guys. We understand it's a time of, financial support for all of us to work together. Let us know. So that's something to be thinking about for sure.
I guess you could probably say that if you're in Alberta though.
Yeah, totally. Totally. Alberta's a little different world. So yeah, that's just some quick tips for you guys. Obviously, we're here to support. If you have any questions, please reach out to us. We love supporting, we love helping, and happy to share this with anything. So without further ado, I would love to introduce you to Kyle Green. Kyle has been a huge part of our community. He has served Steve and I and many of the people inside the community. You can read his little bio there. He's been a broker since 2006, carved out a niche in the investment properties. Kyle's done a ton of investments himself. He's worked with different groups such as REAG and the REINVESTORS and Keyspire and a bunch of other amazing things. National speaker, best-selling author, the list goes on. He's absolutely amazing. So without further ado, I'd just love to get him here so he can share as much knowledge as he can. So Kyle, if you want to jump on and start sharing your screen, that would be amazing.
Awesome. I will unmute myself and share. Give me 1 second here. Open it up.
Were you born in that suit or?
Yeah, I know. I swear every time I go to an event, everybody always asks me, where's the green tie? Where's this? Where's that? And now I can definitely one up the green tie. I mean, it is St. Patty's Day, right guys? Come on. This is my day. It's my day.
In style.
Yeah. Can you guys see my screen now?
We're good, man.
Awesome. Good stuff. Okay. So I'm going to talk about a couple of things. Number one is the revised stress test, and of course, the impact the coronavirus is having on mortgage rates. So first of all, this is what it looks like to be a mortgage broker right now. I'm telling you, it's crazy. Everybody wants to chat. So one thing I'm going to preface this, and it goes back to what Steve and Randy were mentioning, timelines are getting a lot longer, okay? So if you're writing an offer with 5 business days for subject to financing, it's really, really tight. Right now, it looks like you're looking at 5 to 10 business days for purchases and probably 2 to 3 weeks for a refinance to get turned around. So just a heads up on timelines. Make sure that you give yourself enough time and be prepared in advance to take advantage of any of the things I'm going to talk about today. So first of all, a few weeks ago, there was a revised stress test that came out. So I'm going to go over some details on this. It was for insured mortgages only. The new rules were supposed to come out April 6th. Essentially what they were doing is, right now the stress test was either the actual rate plus 2% or 5.19%. And that rate, 5.19, does fluctuate, but as of now it's 5.19. And it would be the higher of the two. And so the odd thing was, though, that if you're getting an insured mortgage and the rate was, let's say, 2.79 at that time, you'd be looking at that plus 2% would be 4.79%, but the banks would still have to use 5.19 to qualify you. So when this rule was actually rejigged, and this information came out a couple of weeks ago, it looked like being able to use a rate of 4.79 to qualify somebody instead of the 5.19% rate to qualify somebody would increase borrowing power by about 3%. So if you used to qualify for a $500,000 mortgage, you'd now qualify for about $515,000. Not a huge increase. It's important to note that this was only for insured mortgages only. And we were getting some feedback that there was likely, this was likely coming to conventional mortgages too. So if you had 20% down or more, that this would be coming. However, with the coronavirus coming on board, this whole thing is postponed. So now it's not happening, which is interesting. So I expect that they will eventually roll this out, but it may be a few months later on down the road. And it's really too bad that the coronavirus hit at this particular juncture, because it seemed like the real estate market was just finally starting to get going again. I want to talk about the biggest impact the coronavirus has had in mortgage rates. So I was doing this, and this is actually a slide that I did just a couple of days ago, and I pulled this up. So this was just a one-day drop in bonds. And so you can see that the bond rates dropped from 0.67 the other day down to 0.484. And they've actually rebounded up a little bit since then, and they've been extremely volatile. If you look at a chart now, you'll see ups and downs that are very, very drastic. Fixed rate mortgages are highly correlated with bond yields. And so if I look at this next chart here, this is showing the difference in what's happened just over, and this chart is going back to the date that I've highlighted here is January 21st. So just about a month and a half away. Interest rates were 1.577 for bonds, and they dropped to 1.1%. And so we've actually seen fixed rates not drop completely 1.1%, but there's definitely a lot of downward pressure for that to happen. And this is another chart that I pulled up, and this is now going back to October 28th of 2018. So now we're looking back about 1.5 years, and interest rates have dropped about 2% from that high point. So long story short, there's a lot of downward pressure on fixed rates, and we've seen fixed rates drop substantially, and it's causing a lot of people to look at, whether they should break their mortgage or not. One of the reasons for this, of course, is the Bank of Canada. And the Bank of Canada has dropped the overnight lending rate, which affects banks' prime rates. They've dropped this twice now. So to give you a bit of a timeline, the US Fed did an emergency drop of 0.5%. Then Canada responded with another 0.5% on their scheduled meeting. Then on Sunday, so this Sunday, the US Fed actually dropped a full 1% down to effectively 0% interest, and started the printing presses to print $700 billion in money. And this followed the Bank of Canada announcement on Friday saying that they're dropping the rate by 0.5%, and banks all dropped to 0.5 point. So long story short, the prime rate in Canada is 1% less than it was just 2 weeks ago. So if you were in a variable rate at let's say that you're getting prime minus 0.5, so 3.45 2 weeks ago, now you're getting 2.45. So there's an aggressive drop with regards to interest rates. Here's a really interesting chart that I found online. It's actually talking about which countries have seen a policy rate cut so far this year, which ones have seen no changes so far, and which ones have seen a increase. You can see that there's one European country. I can't tell you exactly which one it is. What was that?
That's Switzerland?
It looks like it. Yeah, it looks like Switzerland. So one country in the entire world has gone up in rates. A bunch of countries have gone down, and a number have remained the same. This chart is probably a week or two old, and it probably needs to be updated, honestly. I wouldn't be surprised if things have changed since then. Now, here's one of the main reasons why, and this is an interesting point because tariffs have essentially pitted two of the largest world economies against each other and slowing each other down. And it has a lot of spin-off effect. If China is slowing down because the US is buying less of their goods and importing less of their goods, it means that China will also be buying less raw goods like commodities from countries like Canada to create those goods to then sell to the US. This would also have a spin-off effect where China would probably import less goods if they're exporting less goods. If you can't sell as many of your products, then you're probably not going to be importing as many products. I always thought it really odd that the stock market was rallying during this time period. It's really interesting, and one of the reasons that I spoke to a couple of people about this, and one of the reasons that some people suggested is that the stock market essentially was buoying itself. Because a lot of the companies were actually buying back their own stocks. And by buying back their own stocks, they were raising the price because they're lowering the supply. And if the demand is the same, but you're lowering the supply, it means that there should be upward pressure on prices. So kind of a weird anomaly here where stock prices were going up for unknown reasons, especially considering you'd expect that there would have been a bit more of a slowdown. Now, that being said, we've now had, just last week, we had the biggest drop in stock markets since 1987. 1987 is the last time we had, yeah. I know, Steve, were you born in 1987 too?
I was.
Yeah, 1987, boys. So the last time that the stock market dropped as much as they did last week was when Steve and I were still not one yet. We're still in diapers. You know, it's kind of nuts when you think about that. So 32 years. Another reason, of course, is coronavirus. And I think that the tariff situation was starting to create a situation where we had some volatility, and the coronavirus is really what pushed this all over the edge. And so now we're trying to figure out, what do we do, and how do we deal with this coronavirus situation? From a mortgage perspective, I do have some advice, of course. What should you do? And the first thing that most of our clients are doing is going variable if possible. I will say that just over the last couple of days, we've seen variable rate discounts go from, for instance, one bank that we work with on Friday, they had prime minus 0.65. All of a sudden, Friday afternoon at 3:30 or 4 o'clock, they emailed us and said, hey, our rates are going up as of 9 p.m. tonight, and they're going to prime. So an interest increase of 0.65%. So a really, really drastic change. And in my opinion, this is because the prime rate is going down, and the banks want to make sure that they counterbalance this by ensuring that the discounts off of prime shrink, essentially netting people the same result. So I can tell you right now that Friday night was date night for me, and my girlfriend was pretty unhappy with me, but I stayed in the office till 8:30 or 9 p.m. sending out deals. Came into the office Saturday and worked on a bunch of an analysis, because if one bank makes that kind of adjustment, it means that the others will probably follow very soon. I think as of the end of today, most lenders will be close to prime on a closed variable rate mortgage now. So there's been a huge adjustment. Now, if you're not able to get a heavy discounted variable rate, then there is some discussion and thoughts about whether a variable rate or a fixed rate makes more sense. But if you're able to get a discounted interest rate on a variable, then you should definitely be going variable, and you should ride the wave down like this guy. Woo! Okay, I'm not gonna lie, I definitely spent way too long. I'm way too busy to be spending 5 minutes finding the perfect gift for this, but I definitely had to. I'm sorry, guys. So long story short, go variable, ride the wave downwards. There's still downward pressure with the prime rate. People are expecting the Bank of Canada to still drop potentially another quarter or another 0.5%, which would probably result in banks dropping the prime rate by either a quarter or a half. So if you're in a variable rate, you could be seeing the rates drop even further. As of now, I'm still sending out some deals to a lender tonight, and still getting, depending on the type of deal, anywhere from 2.05 to 2.35% for a variable. Couple reasons why we suggest variable. Number one is you can ride the wave down. So if variable rates are decreasing, then you can ride this wave down. If the prime rate keeps continuing to drop, then you're taking advantage of that. Another key difference here is that in a variable rate, you can lock in the mortgage into a fixed rate at any point in time. So if you're starting to wonder or worry that, hey, what's going to happen in 3 or 6 months when this market recovers from coronavirus, that may be a good time for you to consider locking in the mortgage. I've had a few clients where we've done the analysis for them, and to break their mortgage, the penalty is, like one client of ours, the penalty was about $10,000. This client is going to save about $30,000 in interest costs by redoing his mortgage. It's a really, really large sum. So in some cases, the advantage to breaking your fixed rate mortgage early can be very, very advantageous for you. One other benefit of the variable rate is that the penalty is 3 months interest. So if for some reason you need to break the mortgage, the penalty is just 3 months interest. If you're in a fixed rate mortgage, the penalty is either 3 months interest or what's called an interest rate differential, whichever is greater. And that interest rate differential is often 2 to 5 times more expensive. So you just got to be careful of being in a fixed rate mortgage and then looking at having to break it if you have to refinance, or if you need to sell the property and you're not buying something else for whatever reason. So just keep that in mind. Let's see. Oh, for some reason that slide redid itself. So if you just took a fixed rate, it may be worth getting rid of that fixed rate and trashing that, and seeing if the penalty to break that mortgage is offset by the savings. Again, with the variable rates dropping as much as they have for a lot of our clients, it's now making a lot of sense. And so we are telling a lot of our clients it is a good time to buy if you can view the home. I've been hearing some stories about realtors saying that their clients do not want to be showing homes anymore, which is pretty hard to sell your house if you're not showing homes. I would say that if I was a realtor right now, I would probably change things up. If I had a seller that didn't want people to view my house, I'd probably say, okay, we're going to do a 3D virtual tour of the house so people can virtually tour the house. And what we're going to do is we're going to accept an offer subject to satisfactory viewing of the property. So it'll probably result in more collapsed offers on properties, but at least it'll allow people to then write an offer on the property and then view it. So it may reverse the order that you typically buy real estate, especially if you're buying your own home, which is go to view it first, make sure you like the layout, and then write an offer. I think sellers may start to demand, hey, no, go view my online virtual tour first, and then make an offer subject to viewing. And that may be the way that people get around this whole issue. So if you're confused what to do, you're not sure if you should be redoing your mortgage, what's going on with rates, let us crunch the numbers. It only takes us a couple of minutes, and we can figure out, hey, this is your estimated penalty. This is what you might be saving to break your mortgage. Certain banks and certain lenders are more likely to have a smaller penalty than others. Especially major banks, you'll find that the penalties to break a fixed rate mortgage are quite high, and so it doesn't always make sense to break a mortgage with a major bank. And this is my team. So maybe now I'll stop the screen share and open up for some questions here and see if anybody wants to ask the mortgage man any questions about what's going on.
Is the mortgage man the same person as the leprechaun? Or
yeah, it is actually. Yeah. See, every once a year, I actually leave my pot of gold from my rainbow, and then I come here and I talk mortgages. And then after March 17th every year, then I fly back to my rainbow and disappear in my pot of gold. So,
gotcha.
Yeah,
Scrooge McDuck style.
Yeah, I know.
Love it.
I really got to get my story straight here. This is the first time I'm pretending to be a leprechaun. So.
Well, that's awesome. We had one question here from Bonnie, and it's I don't know if you can see the chat piece here, but if
here it is.
Okay.
So Bonnie's asking, will the variable rate be higher than prime if you're holding title in a corp and using a B lender? So yes, if you're trying to get a mortgage in a company name, most lenders now will probably be prime plus for a variable rate, or maybe just around prime. So rates are definitely increasing. On the B lender side, the B lenders typically don't offer mortgages that are tied to prime. It's usually a 1 year, 2 year, or 3 year fixed rate. So 3.99 for a 1 year fixed for a mortgage in a company name is pretty reasonable. That there are banks though that can do variable rate mortgages at around prime in a company name. So if you're looking for another quote, I'm happy to help you out with that.
Josh, did you hear? Can you give me a thumbs up if you heard Kyle's answer about the penalty for breaking a fixed term?
He's not paying attention.
Yeah.
Making dinner.
Yeah. So Josh's question was, what is the typical penalty to get out of a fixed rate mortgage? It's really hard to know exactly what this would look like, but basically the lenders use a system where they look at your rate compared to the current market rates for the same term remaining. And then they look at that difference over the remainder of your term. The biggest challenge with calculating this, though, is that the major banks have posted rates. And so what they do is they calculate the discount they gave to you off of the posted rate when you took that mortgage, and then take that off of the remaining term that you have remaining on your mortgage and subtract that number off the posted rate. I'll give you an example here. So let's say that you're 1 year into your mortgage. The current 4-year posted rate for a major bank might be 4.39%, whereas the 5-year posted might be 5.19. What they'll do is they'll say, well, initially when you took that rate of let's say that the rate that you got was 3.19%, they'll say that they gave you a discount of 2% off of their posted rate. So from 519 down to 319. To calculate the penalty, they'll take the 4-year posted rate, which today is 4.39%, subtract that 2% off of that, and the rate they use to calculate the differential penalty would be 2.39%. Now, here's why it's not fair. The banks aren't offering 4-year fixed rates at 2.39%, but yet that's the rate that they use to calculate your penalty. So it's a bit of a trick on the bank side where they heavily discount long-term fixed rates in a way where you end up paying large penalties if you ever want to break the mortgages, which is not very fair. Let's see here. Any news what the banks plan to help landlords with the COVID-19 issue? I have had a couple of lenders offer that if people are in a bind, there is a skip a payment option with many banks. So you would have to check with your bank and lender and see if they have a skip a payment option. Many of them do offer a one-time per year skip a payment option. And so I know that the lenders that are typically good for investors are a little less likely to have the skip a payment option, but there are some banks that do have a skip a payment option where they just add that to your principal and capitalize it.
Yeah, we just locked into one, and I believe so. I've had this twice actually. We were previously with Coast Capital on my first condo buy years back, and they gave me, I think it was 2 or 3 throughout the term. So 5-year term, 2 or 3 skip payments through the whole term. And then the one that we just signed into was 1 per year. And that was TD.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
My question for you guys would be, so in places like Italy, for example, where things are completely shut down, what do they typically do in that scenario when they pause or defer things like that? Does it, like, say they take a month off, can they just defer that for, instead of being on a 4-year, 10-month contract, you're on 4 years, 11 months now, and they just defer your payment? Can we see that coming in the future? Is that something that's viable here in Canada, or is that just like a lot of talk in the world that we've heard that?
Yeah, usually what they'll do is they'll just add it to your outstanding mortgage balance, which effectively means that yes, you're extending the amortization in that case, because now at that regular payment, it will take you longer to pay that mortgage off. So if your mortgage balance today is $500,000 and your mortgage payment is $2,000, then they'll say, okay, we're going to add $2,000 to your outstanding balance, and next payment, your outstanding balance is based off of, and your amortization schedule is based off of a balance of 502. Yeah. So, the general advice that we're giving to our clients is that if you're in a variable rate now, lucky you. Look at this. I bought some Lucky Charms today. I'm sorry, guys. Yeah, I just had to. I was like, I need an opportunity to whip out the Lucky Charms here. But if you're in a variable right now, lucky you, stay there. If you're in a fixed rate mortgage that's relatively high, it may make sense to look at redoing that mortgage. It just really comes down to whether the savings is going to offset the penalty cost. I have another question here.
Yeah, Nick, you sent that to me privately, so I just shared it there.
Gotcha. Yep. Locked into 2.39 fixed last September. That's a good interest rate. So to understand here, the low point that we hit with fixed rates very recently was about 2.29%, and since then we're starting to actually bump up a little bit as bonds have seemingly hit the floor, and then they're going up a little bit. So 2.39. There's no point in paying a penalty to break it. A variable rate, a competitive variable rate, is going to be just a tad below that. I can't really see it making a lot of financial sense to break it. With your recommendation to go with a variable rate mortgage, what term do you recommend? So Cindy was asking this question. In general, most banks offer a 5-year variable term. Some lenders offer a 3-year variable, but most banks are 5-year variable. So typically it's a 5-year variable that you're typically taking. Let's see here.
What's the downside to it being a variable?
Downside is that the rate, of course, will fluctuate. The rate's going to go bounce up and down, and some people just literally can't stomach it. The likelihood, of course, is that if we're very close to the bottom right now, then a variable will probably outperform fixed for a short period of time, but what happens over a longer period of time? And so if you're in a variable rate mortgage and 1 or 2 years later, the interest rates start to climb, you might be in a situation where you're paying more in interest over that time. I'll say this, a lot of our clients right now, the game plan is they're taking the variable rate, they're riding the wave down a bit, and then in a 3 to 6 month window, they're going to start to consider whether they want to lock into a fixed rate or not. So they're going to take and absorb the savings that they can right now, and then look at locking into a fixed rate once the market is settled and things look like they may rebound a little bit.
So how does it affect somebody like yourself, where you're now promoting basically more work for you to switch everybody to variable, and then 3 to 6 months down the road you switch everybody back to fixed, and there's maybe 100 people on this call. Is that a complete pain in the ass for you, or is that something that we still want to encourage people to do, to connect with you, to make sure that they're making the right choices and making the most amount of money on their income properties or their single family home or primary residence or whatever?
It doesn't take that long for us to do the analysis. Usually just a couple of minutes. We can give you a rough idea of whether it makes sense or not. So it doesn't take that long. I will say that it's been really, it's all hands on deck right now at the office. Myself and a large number of my team have been working pretty late hours. I think I left the office at 9:30 last night. The night before, I was working on Sunday for a few hours after doing a bit of a hike. On Saturday, I worked all day. Friday, on date night, I worked till 8:30 or 9 o'clock. So yeah, but at the same time too, as a business owner, so I'm going to take my mortgage hat off for a second and talk about, no, I'm going to put it back on, but I'm going to take my mortgage hat off for a second and talk about being a business owner in this type of time. There's almost always an opportunity hidden within the downsides of what you're looking at, right? And so the concern, of course, is looking at, okay, what happens if less people are buying homes in the near future? That means less mortgages for a mortgage broker, right? But at the same time, too, interest rates dropping like they have is a great opportunity. The last time I saw this happen, where interest rates were plummeting very, very quickly and variable discounts started to shrink considerably, was the subprime crisis. And I see a lot of similarities to what's happening today compared to 2008. And so knowing that and having the experience that I had back then, where we'd have clients and we'd run the numbers and then the rates would change and then we'd have to redo the penalty calculations and all that all over again. Knowing that and remembering that, we've definitely looked at this and decided, okay, we just need to act really, really fast. All hands on deck. There's a very small window of opportunity for a lot of our clients to redo the mortgages and save a bunch of money. So from a business owner's perspective, you just got to do what you got to do. And sometimes that means putting in a bunch of effort to, we're still expecting the best, but preparing for the worst.
Yeah, that's a great point. It's something that I'd like to just spend 1 second on is, Randy and I have had a lot of conversations over the past week, and we've been following this from the get-go. This is our full-time gig, right? This is what we do. And so we've been trying to keep our finger on many different pulses. We got friends and family overseas. We're in high-level masterminds down south. And so the benefit of being on the West Coast here, especially Vancouver Island, is we kind of get to see everything unfold before our eyes before it even hits us. So start off China, Europe, States, a little bit out east, and now it's kind of finally catching up to Vancouver Island. And so as a business owner, and I think all investors are business owners, if you're running an income property, or if you're a development or contractor or whatever, that's a business for you. And like Kyle was saying, this is going to be a great opportunity to stay on board and be active in today's market, to really capitalize on some people who end up panicking.
I agree. I have a couple more questions that are in the chat that I'll try and answer.
Sure.
Cynthia's asking, hi Kyle, how do you calculate your most accurate return on investment property in a property analyzer form with a variable rate mortgage? Do you estimate the rate initially provided by the lender, or do you do something else given the rate may fluctuate? Yeah, that's tough for sure. I would say that normally what I do is, even if I'm taking a variable because I think it will outperform fixed, I'll usually go and I'll put the current fixed rate into the calculator, because I think that gives me a good idea of what the average variable rate over the term will be. And if I'm thinking that I want to go with variable because I think it will outperform fixed, then hopefully my numbers are slightly better over the 5-year term. But I usually pop in the 5-year fixed rate because it should give you a reasonably accurate idea of what the overall average rate will be over that 5-year term. But I do pop in the variable rate just to see what my initial cash flow will look like, just so I know, okay, what will my numbers be on day one with regards to my cash in and out. Jen had a question. She's been offered 2.34. Is that a good enough deal to lock that into 5-year fixed, or should I still go variable? Jen, it kind of depends on what the variable rate that you've been offered is. 2.34 sounds like it's probably a high ratio mortgage, so less than 20% down, which means that that lender may have also had prime minus 1% available. If that's the case, then 1.95% for variable is quite attractive and worth considering. 2.34 is pretty good though. I mean, if we look at the lowest fixed rates that we've seen, about 2.34 is the lowest you're probably going to see. So if you're taking a variable rate, knowing that you really want to lock it in, there's a decent chance that you miss the boat and end up locking it at a slightly higher rate than 2.34. So you might want to just stick with 2.34. Chris, thank you for the shout out. Yes, I did get back to Chris on date night on Friday. Got a quick question about some things. Evan is asking, if we lock into a fixed down the line, is a longer term a good idea to hold the low rate longer? You're going to find that usually the long-term rates are a little bit more expensive. I have seen in the very recent past here, a couple of lenders like Van City and a few other banks had 7-year terms that were quite competitive at about 2.99 back when 5-year fixed rates were 2.79. So, you know, in some cases, a 7-year term can make sense. So it may be worth looking at, but I think you need to run a bit of an analysis on that and figure out where would rates have to be in 5 years' time when you renew that mortgage to see if it balances out. Let's see here. Mijun has a question. What would you recommend for a flipper to do? Since I incorporate is unable to get an A lender and have been using private lenders, is there any way to around that for a flipper? It is hard to get flips done with major banks. They don't really like doing flips because they actually lose money on those mortgages. So ideally what you're trying to do is position that mortgage as a buy and hold, which can be difficult because if the property is in rough shape, the rental income may not be able to support the loan amount that you're seeking. So it often can be a bit more difficult to get financing on a flip if you're trying to position it as a buy and hold type of property. If the company is an active corporation, it's extremely difficult to find a lender that will do that. If you have a lot of experience flipping homes and this is a large, substantial part of your income and you have at least a 2 or 3 year track record, I do have commercial lenders that will consider doing commercial financing for you to do flips. Nagesh has a question about private lending, and yes, we do private lending. So we have a stable of investors, and we also have people that are looking to borrow money, and so we connect the dots and help people lend out money, but also borrow money too.
We're gonna end questions there, guys, and for Kyle. I just wanted to quickly just touch on private lending, both ends right now. So is it being affected by COVID-19? Like, because the banks are obviously doing their own thing. How is private lending looking? Is that going to change at all? As well as people on here, if they're looking to do private lending deals, how can they get connected or where do they start? Because a lot of people are looking at doing some private lending. It's becoming a more common topic, totally outside COVID-19 and what's going on. How can people start getting into private lending and where's the best places to start?
Yeah, connecting with a broker is great because you have an intermediary who if you want to lend out money, brokers get a large number of requests for people looking to borrow private money. So, I tell people that you don't have to just hook up with one broker either. That one broker is going to get a certain amount of deals. I tell a lot of my investors who have capital, hey, hook up with me and a few other brokers, and then that way those people will send you deals. I'll tell you the way that my system operates. Basically, our investors select the type of lending that they'd like to do. So they say the risk tolerance and what type of loan to values they want to lend on, which areas, how much money they'd like to lend out, first or second mortgages, things like that. And then that way we only send deals that fit those investors' parameters. So we're not wasting the investors' time or our time. So we're only sending deals that fit what the type of lending that they'd like to do. So it just makes it a bit more seamless. And I'd be wary of getting sent a bunch of stuff from a broker that's kind of all over the map. It's better if it's more specific and more geared towards what you're looking for. The other way to do that too is honestly networking. Groups like REINVESTORS are great for being able to connect with people, and you just talk to people and say, hey, I've got $200,000 I'm interested in lending out. If you're interested, send me a deal. And it's a way of connecting people together. And I've seen a lot of people do private lending by connecting directly themselves.
Just quickly, just can you touch on what's going to happen now with COVID-19 and private lending? Is it have any impact on it, or is private lending its own world right now with interest rates becoming so cheap and money becoming so cheap? Is that affecting private lending?
No, and it's not really affecting any private lending. I mean, I did have one private lender who actually bumped up their loan to value ratio slightly and bumped down interest rates slightly, but I don't think that's enough to say that that's what's happening to the marketplace as a whole. I expect it to be relatively flat. If the coronavirus issue is extended and it results in a slowdown of the real estate market and prices start to decline, then yes, you're going to see private lenders want to take a step back and lend less money on real estate if it's slowing activity. But it's way too early to know if this is going to slow activity enough to be a fundamental change in the way private lenders lend money.
Yeah, it'll be either less money or more expensive money.
Yeah, pretty much.
Cool. Well, thank you.
Awesome,
so much.
everybody. So,
oh, go ahead, Steve.
I was going to say, awesome, everybody. That was wicked awesome. Kyle, you're always a wealth of information. I posted just your website link in our chat. So if you guys are interested in connecting with Kyle and his awesome team, click that link. It's just to his bio page, but all of his contact details are there on the site. We're going to share out his presentation as well, so you'll be able to see that slide to be able to connect with him directly.
If you found some value in it, just let Kyle know. Let him know in the comments. Kyle's obviously taken time out of his night to be here to share this with us. He's probably happy that he didn't have to come over to the island to do tonight, because it would have been mayhem for him. But if you enjoyed it or you found some value, just let Kyle know in the comments below. I'm sure he'd appreciate just getting a little bit of love in the tough times that he's going through right now with other work. So thank you so much.
That's awesome. I'll keep responding to people that have other questions in the chat too, guys. Thanks a lot.
Cool. Thanks
if
so
you
much.
have any extra green beer,
just send it across the strait, right? Yeah. Yeah. Cool.
Beauty. Randy, did you want to open up that intro slide here?
Yeah, sure.
Dude, you're getting some love here. There's a lot of people here saying, thanks, Kyle, great presentation. Thanks, that was great. Awesome update. Really comprehensive overview. Wicked. I'm glad people are getting some value out of this. Kyle and I actually do, I don't know, almost quarterly videos for our community. And so if you want to stay in touch with him on a regular basis, I know that he has a really great email communication piece that I don't know if it's monthly or if it's bi-monthly or what, but everyone that you've sent out, I get a lot of value from. And then you and I usually do just a recap video of what's happened over the last quarter kind of thing. So I think we're going to do a lot more of that and a lot more awesome value similar to what we just went through here. And speaking of awesome value, I'd love to highlight somebody who I've just gotten to know over this last year, and somebody who has just an incredible business model. I think a lot of people are pretty familiar with Premier Suites. It's nationwide, and here on Vancouver Island, specifically in Victoria, it's a really great business model for her as well as for investors like you and I. So if you have a condo and you're currently getting $1,400 to $2,000 of income, Rachelle is going to tell you how she can 2x that income. And so when it comes to 2xing income, especially on an income property, I am all ears on that. So Rachelle, I'm going to find you. Randy, maybe you can find her as I do a quick intro. She started her business. You're going to do a little bit more in depth of who you are, but she started her business over 10 years ago. Started it with one apartment, and you're now well over 60. You have a really great reputation here in Victoria. I know Premier Suites has a wicked awesome reputation across Canada. And this has been a highly requested topic, because I think there's a lot of people who, Victoria being a bit of a retirement community in a lot of senses, sometimes the most affordable thing is just to buy a condo. But me as 32, recently engaged, looking to, grow our family over the next few years, I can't just settle down in a 1-bedroom here, but I might not want to give up this awesome location for that time when the kids are out of the house and all that kind of stuff. So I might want to just rent it out for the next 15, 20, 30 years and have somebody else take over management, give me some cash flow, know that it's in really great hands. And Rachelle is the lady to do that, and her excellent team. So everybody just give a warm round of applause digitally and welcome Rachelle. from Premier Suites.
There we go.
All right.
I think I'm unmuted.
There you go.
Here, I'm muted.
Okay, good.
How are you?
Great. So thank you, everybody. This is unusual for me. It's my first web presentation, so it's pretty cool. Thanks to you guys for getting it going. So you're right. We did actually start 15 years ago. March 31st is we're going into our 15th year. So we're
Happy anniversary.
Yeah, so we started with basically one apartment, $3,000, and we now have 65 apartments, 13 staff, and it's wicked successful. So I do have a slide deck prepared for you guys. So I'm going to share my screen now. There we go. And that one. Did I do that right?
Looks good.
You see it?
Yeah.
Okay, good. So we'll go to this one too. So Premier Suites was started by Tim Moore 20 years ago. So I bought I think my office was the fourth office in Canada to start. So we're all franchised, and so it's just been amazing when you have 26 offices across Canada, and we're all basically a Canadian national that all Canadians can be proud of. So we have 26 offices across Canada, all doing 4-star furnished accommodation. For all of our guests coming in, and of course it's more comfortable and more cost effective than being in a traditional hotel room where you have a room with a bed. With us, you have a full bedroom, a full kitchen, everything that you need. And all combined, we have over 400,000 room nights in condos right now, which, it still boggles my mind that this is where we've gone in, a short 20 years. So nearly 1,300 suites across Canada. We're in every major city now. I mean, including Winnipeg, but I don't know who would, don't say it out loud. I don't know who would want to stay in Winnipeg, but especially right now, it's cold. We're going to be expanding internationally, so I'm hoping for the San Francisco office and the Paris office for myself, which would be great. And so there's all of our cities and whatnot listed below there. So our Vancouver office alone has, I think, 7 or 8 offices, so right downtown, all the way across. So Kyle and Steve asked me to kind of prepare a group of slides talking about marketing, like how would you as a buyer of investment property, how are you going to market it? And if you were doing a furnished rental like we do, you're going to have to, for us it's easy. So we work with the 7 largest relocators in North America and the 3 largest international relocators in Europe. So when a company like, let's say Microsoft, when they want to send 30 or 40 people to Vancouver or Victoria, they will contact a relocator. So they wouldn't probably not contact our office directly. So we're paired up with them in amazing ways. So a relocator will just send us a request for housing. So the request for housing will come through and they'll say we need 7 people located as close to the downtown core in Yaletown, Victoria, and Toronto North. And then we will just put together proposals for those and send those out for those requests for housing. So because we're in every major city in Canada, we have probably one of the largest referral systems in-house, just inside our own company, 26 offices, and we all cross-refer. We're all on the same client management tool, so we can see each other's reservation boards. We can see how many apartments are available at any given moment. All of our statistics come out of those boards as well. Sometimes I'll still do my statistics by hand because my numbers, like I'm a nerd, I love my numbers. So right now, even with the coronavirus coming, our office in Victoria is at 83% occupancy. So, we're still hitting it hard and really busy. Because we're a national brand, we pool a lot of money. We all pay into an ad fund, and from that ad fund, we put advertisements like on Air Canada or, we can hire talent like the manager of the Blue Jays. He travels around with the Blue Jays, but he stays with us. So we've got him doing radio voiceovers for us and everything. So it's pretty cool. With a 20-year-old brand, then of course you have a lot of brand recognition. Like Steve, you and Randy are going to have incredible brand recognition going forward. Like if you decide to franchise or whatever you're going to do, your brand is already out there so well. So I think when you hear about a company like mine or like Steve and Randy's, and you're thinking, okay, well, if I buy an apartment and I want to do a furnished rental, how in the heck can I compete against companies that have this kind of buying power? So we're in basically a different level from the individual. So we're competing with the Travagos of the world. We're competing with Booking.com, where they're putting out $20 million in their budgets for advertising. So, I mean, an individual is not going to compete with that sort of a budget. But I think for most people, you have to decide who your client is and how you want to reach them. So one of the big things for us is clients, they want something beautiful to stay in. They want something beautiful to look at. So, we've all been in an apartment where, somebody's tried to kit it out with kind of the leftovers from their house and it never looks good. And so I'd say, if you're looking to do a furnished rental, then, keep in mind that design is the number one thing that people are looking for in a furnished rental. Clean, modern, comfortable. Start your online search with Pinterest and all those kind of things about how to do a 4-star furnished rental. There's lots of information out there. You could also use our website. So we have 2 websites, one's local and one's national. So our local one just features the Victoria condos. So they're very contemporary, very clean. We're certified by the Association of Service Providers of Furnished Apartments. So we know what we're doing, and our website speaks for itself. So when you look at the apartments, you see exactly what you're going to get. It's kind of like the number one rule. If you're going to advertise something, it better be that thing. Like, you don't want somebody coming in and saying, yeah, but it showed this great view of the ocean and this condo is like a basement suite. So just know what you're doing. Most of the time at Premier Suites, we say that our business is about people, but yes, it's about people, but the properties are what really matter. Locations, the design element in it. So when you're looking to where you're going to choose a suite, I think probably you should be thinking first and foremost about who are you going to try to sell your suite to. So in Victoria, like there's kayaking, there's canoeing, pretty much anything, rock climbing. I mean, we've got everything on Vancouver Island. So you would want to figure out who are you going to sell it to. So if you're going to sell to like the outdoor crowd, then you're going to kind of try to drill it down. And where are you going to advertise? How are you going to sell it to those people? Figuring out where they want to be. So do they want to be next to the Wanapeka Rec Center, or what are they going to be doing is also key to where they're going to want to be. What do they need to be close to? So in my business, location is absolutely key. So 99.9% of our call is for right downtown Victoria. So we haven't had the opportunity to expand into the Western communities or into Sydney until just lately. So Sydney for us was a big surprise, but we have probably 4 or 5 big corporations doing business out there that are now ready for accommodation in Sydney. So if somebody was going to do business with me and wanted to put their suite with us, like Sydney is something that we're definitely looking at. And we're hoping that the cost of buying a condo in Sydney is going to be a lot less than buying right downtown Victoria, because I'm on MLS all the time looking at stuff. And part of my job, I always feel, is to make sure that I can cash flow for you. So if you're buying a 2-bedroom for $800,000, I'm not going to be able to cash flow that thing for you. So I want to cover your mortgage, your strata fees, your city taxes, make sure you have a bit of money left over at the end of the day. So we always look at the numbers on those things, and right now the numbers are pretty high in downtown Victoria. So one of the other things that you're really going to want to do with your staging and your cleaning is photos and first impressions are everything. So we actually send all of our linen out to be sanitized and ironed, because the client's first impression when they walk into that suite is they look at the bed and they think, I can't wait to get in there. It's so nice looking, like it just looks so great. Put your best foot forward, and that foot better have a real nice pedicure on it, I'll tell you. So even like trying to hide the cables when you're taking the pictures for something that you're trying to market. Like we try to fish all our cables through the walls anyway, but for pictures, James Mitchell does a lot of our pictures in Victoria, and James is just a whiz at like cleaning off the cables, and you know, he even moved the painting over on the wall for me in the picture so that it lined up better on the couch, like just those small details. And then of course we had to go in and actually move the picture. So you're wanting to look at all of those things. We don't sleep in our suite, so we don't know if the lighting is good enough. So we ask the first client in a suite, you know, can you please give us your feedback? Most people do read reviews on accommodation. So it's one of the things that I do like about Airbnb is that the landlord and the guest both get reviewed. So I think it's huge. It's so valuable. And most people, our statistics say that cleanliness, first impressions are the most important. And sorry about that, whose hair is it? So one of the things I say with our housekeepers is, if you're doing a regular clean, because we clean our suites every 2 weeks, it's a little bit like our spy mission. So we can go in and make sure that people are living respectfully in other people's property. So if they've been there a few months and the housekeepers come and go and they find a hair on the bathroom floor, they're probably going to think it's theirs. If they arrive and it's their first moment in the suite, they know it's not theirs. So cleanliness is pretty important. And the other thing I say is, well, it's not your house, and so it has to be spotless, because they want to feel like they're the first person in there. My rule is I don't want our condos to smell like anything. I don't want them to smell like food or cleaning detergent or anything like that. With the COVID virus, we're going to, sorry, my cat just got off my lap. We're going to ozone sterilization of all of our suites. So the ozone machine, we pop it in for an hour, and then it takes another hour for the O3 molecule to break down. But in the meantime, everything is sterilized in our suites. So we're thrilled about this as part of, you know, just going forward, doing the right thing for people. And with your own property, you're going to have to decide on how comfortable you are and how often you want to inspect it. So I inspect our suites every spring to make sure that they're still the 4-star standard. So I mean, sometimes I get a big surprise, like the couch hasn't worn well, and I know that, okay, I gotta go get a new couch, and I gotta get that one out of there and get the next one in. We do this even when we have clients in-house, because I never think that anybody's going to be upset with me when I drop off a new set of Lagostino pots or a new block of Hinkle knives. Like, they're not going to be upset. They're going to be really happy about that. So you have to decide how often to inspect your apartment. With our housekeeping schedule, ours comes in every 2 weeks. So I know if something's wrong. I know if it smells like cigarette smoke. So basically you want to be offering a luxury stay without the luxury price tag. So, you know, like for being in business in Victoria for 14 years, I have some really great connections to furnish suites and to get things looking fantastic. And so I probably furnish, I'd say about 20 suites a year. So definitely know how to do it, pass on a lot of the savings that we get from our suppliers to the potential property owner. Then I want to talk to you a little bit about the income. As Steve said, like, you're in a whole other ball game with doing a corporate rental. Like, if you were to come with us, or if you're going to do your own Airbnb, we're probably price positioned to be at the very top of the market all the time. So we're cheaper than a hotel room. We're cheaper than anybody on Airbnb. And you have a 4-star connection with us. And you have branding that goes all the way across Canada and into the United States and the Bahamas. So these figures here, the income with Premier Suites, this is already after our revenue split with the owner. So a 1-bedroom and bath or a studio is coming in between $23,000 and $34,000 a year after I've been paid. So, you know, when you go to the other end of the spectrum and you've got the 3-bedroom, 3-bathroom places, you know, we've got owners that are coming in at $65,000 in a year. So it's like almost marrying somebody. You suddenly have all this extra income. Like it works. I don't see if there's any questions for me yet, but I'm just going to go, I think, to the next slide, which is just our contact information. So just a little bit more about how we do our split with the owner. So we do 70-30 income split with the owner of the property. So we take the 30% and they get the 70%. And our annual occupancy is usually between 85 and 92%. And hotels don't come in at that in Victoria. So last year we were at 87.5%, and the year before we were at 92%. So this year, even with the virus, we have secret planning with doctors and things that are happening. So we're hoping to even be able to help some of the Airbnb people and the people in vacation rental, that we may be able to use some of their apartments and help them out. So you know, we're always trying to keep ahead of the curve and think outside the box on, like, you know, in a crisis like this, you have to think who's going to need to stay in your property, and maybe that's going to be a total shift, you know, total change in direction of who you would normally try to market to. So thinking outside the box, like Steve and Randy do, is really great. So vetting your clients is probably one of the most important things. I was really astounded to find in one of our meetings with one of the realtors, he also asked an Airbnb person to come and somebody from a vacation rental establishment to come, and some of them weren't even using contracts. So we have, it's a 5-page terms and conditions that we use with our clients. Everybody should be asking for ID. We do background checks, so we'll Google people. We always, you know, if we have any hinky feelings at all, because of our CRM, we can ask all the other offices, do you know this guy? Like, is he okay? Sound, just all that. We get deposits. You're going to want to decide on whether you're going to do pets or no pets. With us, we encourage our owners to take pets because the client will pay for the pet sanitation and cleaning the furniture. Otherwise, I ask the owner to do that once a year to expect to pay for sanitization like that. Now with the ozone machines, I mean, we're just wanting to make sure that things are sterile. So we bought 3 ozone machines, so we can just kind of rotate those through. Another element with heavy damage is usually children. So you have to decide if you want your rental to accept kids or not kids. Pets and kids, if you eliminate those two, you will feel it on your occupancy board. And so we try to make most of our apartments kid-friendly and pet-friendly. But sometimes you're repainting. And so that's when you want to make sure that you have a credit card authorization and a credit card imprint. And Premier Suites is a credit card company, so that's fairly easy for us to do, just to make sure that we're covered. So expenses, I mean, of course, we're always trying to drill down on expenses. So this is at the bottom of our revenue expectations for owners. So of course, there's a number of things, a number of extra things that you can deduct from line 126 of your personal income tax that has to do with extra expenses for your furnished accommodation. So a lot of these would apply to just condos in general, like the strata fees and the mortgage interest, but your initial furniture package for your suite is a complete income deduction. So I do encourage owners to come on with us even in October, November, and December, because they're going to furnish their suite and get it ready. That's basically their first year of doing business, and they're going to have a loss on their first year of doing business, which you kind of want if your personal income is really high. You would want to put that on line 126 and bring your personal income tax down. I've been known to paint an entire and refurnish an entire condo when it's mine, and I would rather put the money in my pocket than pay a lot of tax on it. So including coming in to stay in one of our other suites to check your suite, it's tax deductible. So just lots of extra things to think about. And so that's my contact information. And I don't think I have anything else to add to that. We've talked about the Ozo machines. We've talked about how connected Premier Suites is, but there are many ways to do a furnished condo, like a furnished rental. So you just have to pick your market and who you're going after.
Awesome, Rachelle. That was wicked great. We had a couple of questions here just on the right-hand side. I just wanted to really quickly reiterate, I have a long marketing background, and anytime you're starting to either launch a new product, target somebody, or provide a service, the number one thing you want to do is you put yourself in their shoes.
Absolutely.
And you really want to understand, you know, in today's world, we call them avatars. Who is your avatar? Is it male or female, age, what's their job, what's their occupation, what's their income level, what do they do for fun, recreation, is it family, individuals, you know, ethnicity, the whole scope. You want to be as detailed as possible.
Yeah.
And then all of your marketing material should be directed to that person. So we have a couple different avatars in our business. We've actually named them. Kevin is one. And so Kevin is a 42-year-old guy, and we can go on and on and on. And when you are speaking to a specific individual, me as the person you're marketing to, I feel like you're talking directly to me. I'm like, oh dang, I relate way more with this message than just the blank, like one size fits all type messaging.
Yeah.
So if you can really niche down in your targeting, you're going to have the precise type of clientele that you really want.
Yeah, that's how I started it too. Is like I didn't want to do vacation rental when I brought the company to Victoria. I never wanted a company that was going to be screaming busy all summer long and then, you know, really slow all winter. I wanted to be busy all the time. And so that is definitely who we've targeted. And without giving away the secret sauce for Premier Victoria, it was really important to me to be busy year round and not be, you know, cash strapped in the winter months. So our occupancy speaks for itself. Like it's been really fabulous coming and setting up in Victoria and just learning everything that goes on in Victoria business wise.
Yeah. I have a cash flow sheet for an example of what it might look like if you were to buy a 2-bedroom right now in Victoria and run it through Premier Suites. But I think I'll hop onto that once we address some of these questions, just to make sure that people are getting their value out of it. So the top one that I've seen here is from Kathy. It's do you rent out longer than 30 days? I'll let you answer that.
Oh, right, the rental length. Sorry, I just have to ignore this phone call. The rental length is really important. So a lot of people don't realize with rental length that when it's a taxable stay, so a taxable stay is anything less than 30 days. However, the government, they don't actually agree. So the PST actually has 7 different rules inside one calendar year. So if you're renting from February 1st to March 1st, they're happy. They're calling that 30 days, whether it's 28 or 29. It's fine. It's not a taxable stay. But if I was to rent from, say, July 1st to July 30th, that's not a 1-month rental to them. So what we did instead was we just decided that we would go with a 31-day rental. So we knew we weren't going to have any pushback except for from one of the relocators that we get pushed. I spent a lot of time talking to a lot of people. Like we know Carol James pretty well now, and all the city councillors. We talked to them both individually and probably 3 or 4 times presenting to them around the short-term licensing problem, because we were just kind of lumped in with all the vacation rental people. But we've never been vacation rental. I mean, if we do any vacation rental, it's probably less than 1% of our business. So a huge difference.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
So I would say that your best bet is to try to make sure that if you're going to do 30-day rentals, to just be aware that you're going to want to start it on the first of the month, and you're going to want to make sure it runs for 30 days. So technically you could start on the 15th of the month, but it better go to the 16th of the next month. It's just the way it is.
and you do have, like you can service suites that are specifically zoned for less than 30 days as well, right?
Yeah, we're licensed for, we can do one night if we want. So we have probably about a dozen suites that are short-term licensed, and they're all grandfathered into those buildings that, and I can send you the building list too, Steve. So if you wanted to put that out with people, that's fine. So places like the Juliet, that's right on Johnson Street, the Core Zone, and the Falls, let's say.
Yeah.
Right. So those three buildings, they're grandfathered in. So what that means is that even a new person who's buying into that building, the building is grandfathered. So as long as there is one person in there still doing short-term rental, the entire building is grandfathered. We would only have a problem if we had no one in that building doing short-term rental for an entire year. Then the building's done. And I don't think that's going to happen in Victoria.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Yeah.
I just got a place in the Jannion, and
Yeah,
most owners in there are like running it as a short-term business.
yeah. I might need to borrow that one from you.
Yeah, I think that'll work out fine.
Yeah, hope so.
Randy, do you want to unmute yourself and ask your question there?
Yeah, just curious how you handle strata units and keyed entries. Obviously, that's what you guys do best. But what if do you run into many issues where strata's like, hey, we allow rentals, but this isn't short-term rental, but you still have a lot of turnover, people coming in all the time. Do you run into many issues like that?
Yeah, we do. In fact, we had one of our buildings didn't really like us having children in the suites because, of course, kids run around. So we try to put people with kids either in our townhouses or our bottom floor apartments. Then they can run around and they're not stomping on somebody else's head. So we have had to meet with stratas around that issue and, kind of work through it and then go back to the owner and say, okay, your apartment is now a child-free apartment. We can't put children in there. It's just too destructive in the building. Part of our reservation package is the Form K. So I think that's where a lot of people get upset with vacation rental and stuff like that, is that people aren't putting their Form K in. So if you're going to do a furnished rental, you should absolutely have the Form K as part of your rental package so that you're putting it in all the time. It does trigger the move-in, move-out fee, but if you want to do business properly and have the respect of the stratas and the property managers that you work with, that's the right thing to do. Just, do it the way they do it. So we make a huge point out of trying to really look after our building managers and read all the strata moments so that we're up to date on the council meetings, the AGMs, the special general meetings, so we know what's going on in the building and we can participate. Every now and then you will have one of these buildings going for a 3/4 vote on changing from allowing short-term rental to not allowing it at all. We've even had buildings that were still zoned for short-term rental, but in my talks with the strata council, they said, please don't do it. So we didn't, even though it was licensable. But, if you want to long-term relationships, which is what we want, you just don't want to be walking into buildings, stepping on everybody's toes. So yeah, we can do a 3-day rental, but we do a week minimum because we don't want people clanging their suitcases in on Friday and clanging them back out on Sunday, and, making everybody in the community in the building, angry with us. So yeah, you really just have to choose who you want to do business with and who you need in your camp.
Awesome. Bonnie's got a really great question here. Is there a size that is more in demand, 1 bedrooms versus 3 bedrooms, number of baths, etc.? Is there a trend that you're seeing specifically here in Victoria or nationwide of a demand for more 1 bedrooms, being singles, coming here for short-term contracts, or is it families moving from out east or international here to Victoria that are bringing their kids, or what's something that if me as an investor wants to go find the most ideal place, what would that look like?
Well, it really is economy driven. So when we're dealing with, like the Microsoft people, or, anyone you want to, the Blue Bridge engineers is another one. So the Blue Bridge engineers, of course, these were guys that they're at the top of their game, right? They're marine engineers, or, they're really high caliber engineers that are coming in to build this thing. So when the economy is really good, companies want to put their guys in, or their top female employees into 2-bedroom apartments so that they can bring their families at some point for holidays or for extended stay. However, when the economy is a little crunchier, then a lot of those same companies are going to say, okay, sorry, Robert, sorry, Sarah, you're going to have to deal with a one bedroom. So even if you go with the 1-bedroom scenario, I usually tell people, if you can get a 1-bedroom with a den and make sure the den is big enough for us to set it up as a 2nd bedroom, that's probably the best bang for your buck that you're going to get. And if it has a bath and a half, even better. We have a lot of 2 bedrooms, 1 bathrooms, but at the same time, we deal a lot with the insurance industry too. So, what do you do when a pipe bursts in your house in Ottawa? Like you don't know what to do. Are you going to stay in a hotel for 3 months while they fix your house? No, you're probably going to want to get a furnished rental or be with Premier. We have the support staff that goes with our rentals. So we actually do use all of them, but I would say studios and 3 bedrooms are kind of at the outside of the bell curve for us. So everything in between the 1 bedrooms, the 1 bedrooms and bath, the 2 bedrooms, 1 bath, all of that kind of stuff, like the middle of the road there is probably the best bet for investors. And it really does depend on the economy. Like I said, when the economy is roaring, everybody wants to put their people in a 2-bedroom.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah.
Having that extra space is huge. And that's the example that I have is actually a 2-bedroom that I'll run through in a minute. But just let's rip through these last couple of questions so we can be respectful of everybody's times. Kathy's got a cool question here. Do you have clients looking for luxury furnished penthouses? If yes, what would the rent look like? 3 bedrooms, 3.5 bath, 1,760 square feet, and a wraparound deck right downtown. I shot first dibs.
Sounds like the ideal quarantine spot, and Steve and I planned it.
I'm going to pull back up that last slide if that's okay with you guys.
Yeah, of course.
Just so we can have a look at the rental revenue right here.
Kathy, if you're listening right now, Kathy, jot down what you think just a traditional like month-to-month lease would be for that. I'm curious.
Yeah. So the thing with doing corporate rentals is a lot of the times they don't want to be in a basement suite, but they don't care that much about the view. So like I'm saying, 4th floor up to the 11th floor is always great. If you have a penthouse, yes, we might end up in this end of the things down here, maybe not even as a 3-bedroom. So we might end up in the higher range if it has a beautiful view and a lot of square footage and a huge deck. But when the economy is hard, companies don't care. They don't care if there's a huge deck and it's got its own private balcony at the top of the building. Most of these guys are going to be at work right from 7 or 8 in the morning until 8 at night. Like I once called one of our clients and said, hey, is it okay if I drop by and check your phone because it hasn't been working? And he was like, sure. And I said, it's okay if I come right now. And he said, I'm not there. Like he's still at work at 8 o'clock at night. So these guys are so easy on the apartments. And like I said, at the top of their game. So they are going to pay top dollar. But the way we're positioned in the market, like even though we're classed as a luxury accommodation, we don't have the luxury price tag with it. And with the 70-30 split, like most people end up pretty happy with us.
Mm-hmm. Cynthia, how do you set expectations with tenants who have pets regarding cleaning the furniture or paying extra?
So that's part of our contract. So with pets, we have 2 different pet contracts. So one basically spells out that having your pet in our apartment is a privilege. And so there are terms and conditions that go with that. So we want to make sure that they know that it's a privilege. And to have the dog there, they do pay a sanitation fee. And so the owner doesn't have to pay it. The owner of the condo, not the owner of the dog. So the owner of the dog will pay a sanitation fee. And with that sanitation fee, we do use it to steam clean all the furniture in the apartment. So 2 contracts that we have, basically the first one, make sure that it fits into what the strata is expecting. Like the strata is basically saying you can have a dog, but it shouldn't be more than 50 or 60 pounds. So if someone comes in with their Great Dane, it's not going to go over well. So their dog has to jive with the terms and conditions of the strata for one, and then it has to jive with us in terms of like we've had some kind of stinky dogs in, but we do provide furniture covers and things like that. And then the last thing is part of their contract is if a cat or a rabbit or whatever they have damages wiring or furniture, yeah, they do have to pay for it. It's all in our contract. We do have really robust paperwork around who's paying for damages, anything like that. Like basically we want the apartment back in the way that we gave it to you.
Yeah, for sure. For I think all of our rentals, we allow pets in our rentals because we can, one, it's in huge demand, and two, with that we can usually get an extra $50 to $200 out of it.
Yeah, that's right. Because, it is a privilege to have your pet there. And most pet owners, like myself included, most pet owners want to be able to pay to have their animal with them.
100%. Yeah. It's your best friend, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Cindy asks, some condos have strict rules that don't allow short-term rentals. Is that something that you work around with?
No, whatever the condo boards want us to do, that's what we do. And that's what we're known for. We're probably the only company in Victoria that bylaws will give us a reference. Like we've worked long and hard with bylaws. When I first came in, they actually wouldn't give me a business license 14 years ago. They gave me such a hard time. And I played the blonde card. I would go back every day and go, okay, now what? Wait, what? I don't understand. Why no business license? And then they would tell me what they were worried about. And I was like, okay, check. And then they still wouldn't give me one. So I'd go back the next day and say, okay, explain that to me again. Finally, they got to know me well enough and I got to know them well enough that they said, okay, we'll license you. It took 3 weeks. We'll license you, but we're going to be watching you. And I said, absolutely, stop by my office anytime.
Yeah.
So whatever City Hall wants us to do or whatever the stratas want us to do, that's what we will do. And they have confidence in us that we're going to. So no, we don't contravene if there's a rule. Or if it's a building where, maybe it's a more senior building and there's a lot of spare time on people's hands and they're really watching everything and maybe they're looking for something to be cranky about. And they don't want us there. We don't stay. We just say, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
It's fine. Bye.
That's awesome. We have that kind of flexibility. Randy's got a wicked cool question here. One of the biggest issues for people in BC and Ontario is how lopsided the residential tenancy acts are. And
yes.
So very in favor of the tenants. So the question that Randy asks is, does this come as a solution for people who are afraid of the tenancy board and don't want to, and not able to kick out tenants?
Yes, that is a big deal. So because our contracts are temporary accommodation contracts, they are classed as short-term rental. We've had people stay with us for 3 years, but it's still classed as a transient accommodation, and residential tenancy doesn't touch that. So we have had 1 or 2 episodes where I did have to move in, basically move on a suite and just say, you need to go, you have 48 hours. Mm-hmm. And one of them was the film industry, not to, from the film industry. It was just someone that showed up and had a party mentality, and we ended up needing to relocate them in 48 hours. And a gamer was the same thing, just gone off on the wrong foot in a building. We couldn't let him stay in that building, so we moved him to another building with a new understanding of expected behaviors. But I know it does make it hard, especially, in situations like this where people can't afford to pay their rent and you do need to move them along. And, I feel bad when people get trapped in that residential tenancy thing where they still have to pay their mortgage, but who's ever squatting in their property is getting away with everything. So I have never had to deal with that, and I'm very grateful, but I have never had to deal with it because residential tenancy does not deal with transient accommodation, and we're definitely transient accommodation.
Awesome. That wraps up our questions here.
Can I just add just one thing around that though, Steve? So transient accommodation can still be somebody's primary residence. So I know that was one of the things on the speculation tax. Like they wanted it to be someone's primary residence, and same with the ST rebates when you buy a new property. They do want it to be somebody's primary accommodation. So if your house is flooded and you're staying with us, it's your primary residence because your home is not habitable. So we really have had to research everything and make sure that, you know, we know the statutes and we know who's asking us for what kind of information.
Mm-hmm. Beauty. I think that's a huge, if you just want to stop your share here real quick. That's a huge benefit to, you know, for people in BC and Ontario who are investing here, to be able to kind of bypass the Tenancy Act. I know somebody who unfortunately put in a professional tenant, and they've been living in a suite that was supposed to be rented out for $1,600 a month, and they've been there for 6 months, zero rental income. And so just horror stories that you can hear sometimes.
Heartbreaking.
It really is. It might bankrupt this woman, and it's really sad to hear. And so a 48-hour eviction is a whole lot better than, you know, messing around with the tenancy board and stuff. So I'm just gonna share my screen real quick here and show a quick example. One of the hardest things to do when you're investing in condos is to get it to cash flow.
Yes.
So here is a quick example. Oh, I gotta move this little bar. Here's a property. So here's Victoria. I just searched 2 beds. You know, pretty simple. You know, price filter from 4.25 to 600. Here's one in the Hudson building, which is a really great building. It's 2 bed, 2 bath. Real kind of sleek, modern kind of feel to it. Nice little loft living. It's got like a little cool courtyard. It's right in the core of downtown. It's you know, for the most part, it's well finished, et cetera, et cetera. So it's $450. Because we're investors, we get deals. So I put it in at at 5.25 instead of $550. Went 25% down. We're getting $4,000 in income because it's the 2 bed and 2 bath. We've got all of your expenses here: taxes, condo insurance, utilities, cable and internet. Even we've included the 30% piece for property management. I've included some $5,000 for furnishing. We're a 2.75% over 30 years. And right here, you'll see that there is still, you know, almost $400 in, you know, positive cash flow going into your pocket. So on a typical rental, you know, maybe you're getting, I don't know, $2,200 a month for that unit if you're doing it just on a year lease. And with, it's usually the strata piece that you know, kind of kills your cash flow. So this is a great option for investors who are looking for a little bit of monthly cash flow to consider. Yeah, you might have to put a little bit more down. You know, I think it's you know, usually we're 20-25%.
Add on your example there, Steve. The net rent that we would collect is more than that. It's probably around 5,000.
Okay, sweet. There we go. We just added a little bit of extra loving into your wallets on a monthly basis. So that's pretty wicked. I'm gonna go buy that one right now.
All of a sudden, everyone's gonna go purchase that property, guys.
Yeah.
You said $1,000 a month. Let's go.
Any realtors on the call right now that want to go lock this up right now?
Partners, let's do this.
So it's the real deal. It's, you know, we're always looking for cash flow. Cash is king, especially in, you know, in the market that we might be heading into, and over the next few weeks or few months, hopefully not years. But everybody give Rachelle a huge round of applause. If your video is on, you know, we can do the happy hands.
Thank you, guys.
Drop a bunch of love in the comments so that so we can see that you're lucky charms.
Lucky charms.
Drop a bunch of love in the comments because that was great. I think we had just a few slides that we want to run through just to finish off the night. Randy, if you want to pull that up, we'll be closing off in the next 15 minutes. Want to respect your time, but if you guys have any last minute questions, drop them in here as well, or unmute yourself and chime in. And we'd love to hear too about how you thought this webinar went. Usually it's, you know, as we mentioned, it's live in person. We had to pivot this month because of what's going on in our worlds. So I'd love to hear what your guys' feedback has been for, is this something that you want to see us continue to do even when Corona's in the thing in the past? Is it something that you found valuable? Is there anything that you'd like to see in the future or us to change? Love any kind of feedback you want to give us. So I guess you want me to start there?
Yeah, you can start.
Sure. So if you guys like tonight, you guys can find us on Facebook, on Instagram, LinkedIn. All you got to do is search at the REINVESTORS. We would love to just get a 5-star review from you, or just an honest review in general. Anyways, hopefully it was 5 stars. If you could hop on, just spend 2 minutes, writing us a quick line, giving Kyle and Rachelle, a word of praise. Drop a tip or something like that in there as well if you can. This is how the word spreads, and if we want to reach a million people in the next few years, we need to insulate our reviews, and that's our only ask from you guys. You got a free or buy donation value tonight, and so if you guys could just take a couple minutes and give us some love online, that would be much appreciated, and it would really help us hit our goal of 1 million people. You're muted, bud.
Always do that. Again, check us out on our community, our Facebook community. There's a lot of good stuff in there. Kyle Green's in there. He's always commenting, helping on people. Last time we were checking, he was like 1:32 in the morning. He was just hanging out, responding to messages. He likes to do that when he can't sleep. So, so get in there, ask your questions. I'm sure Rachelle will jump in there and be able to support and help with some short-term questions or some executive rental stuff. It's going to become a more popular conversation for sure. And we're going to start pushing it more on people. Especially with the hit that Airbnb is going to take right now. We didn't get too deep into that, but Airbnb is taking a hit right now. So if you're taking a hit, head over, go see Rachelle. She might be able to help you out and help you weather the storm and probably give you a better option for the future. So it's a little bit more recession proof. We're going to chat a bit about that. We ran about time. So if you guys want to head over to our community and we'll start a conversation there about it for sure.
Our next one, so it's the third Tuesday of each month. So April 21st is the third Tuesday of our next month. We are preparing to do this again online. If this passes real fast, which I don't expect it to, we would do it in person at the Gorge Vale Golf Club as per usual. But because we're expecting this to last a few more weeks, at least, be prepared to do another webinar. Cynthia just gave us some love in here. I'm glad that you found it so valuable. I'm glad that it's working for everybody else who's still tuned in. This is something that we're really excited about, to do it online and to continue to do the online pieces when the live ones get kicked off again. So open up your calendars right now, 6 p.m. PST, April 21st. We have one person confirmed and we have a second person, a tentative yes. Both are very high topics of conversation right now. So you're going to want to make sure that you're a part of this so you can get the first piece of value. And it's your birthday, Felicia. Awesome. So you better be tuning in so we can give you some love too. Love the online format. Awesome. So hopefully we see you at the latest, April 21st. Let's get connected in between. Shoot us a private message and we'll happily hop on a phone call or correspond through email or message to help you guys out. I know Rachelle and Kyle will do the same.
And I think regardless, even if we do if we do an in-person in April 21st, we'll do something online next April for sure. There's no question about it. We've really loved this. And I think a lot of people are loving it too. So if you guys do have any questions, hit us up. Steve and I are some of the most accessible people that you can get. We love sharing information. We love helping out. Emails are down there, websites on there, message us on Facebook, Instagram, anything like that. You guys are totally welcome to send us messages. We can hook you up with any of our sponsors. Rachelle, Kyle, anybody you need to see, we got you. We can make those introductions very easily. And guys, we absolutely just love being here and supporting you. So if you found some value tonight, let us know. This is a whole new realm for us. We're excited to explore it. We're excited to learn more about how we can serve more people with this. I mean, we're very happy. We had 55 people on for almost 2 hours, and then it slowly just dropped off now. It's absolutely incredible to us. So with that kind of support, it makes it very eager. It makes us very eager and excited to continue doing this. So because you guys showed up, we're going to over deliver for you and try and make this more of a regular thing. So thank you guys for coming out tonight. Absolutely love you. If you have any questions, again, feel free to hit us up and we'll go from there.
Any final words from anybody?
Just a lot of love. So awesome. Thank you so much, guys.
Thanks, you guys.
Thanks, Rachelle.
And
Have a
we
great
will
evening.
Talk to you soon.
see y'all in the community.
Thanks, guys. See ya.
Thanks,
Good
Kyle.
night.
Nice day.
Stay green, brother.
I will. Yes.
Awesome, everybody. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you in the next few days and April 21st. See you then, at least.